If there is one thing that New Super Mario Bros. Wii is notorious for, it would be the propeller suit. Not only has this power-up caused generational trauma to all players alike, but it has also helped revolutionize how top-level players perceive this game. There are countless instances in which this power-up is used, allowing players to beat this game faster than anybody could have ever dreamed of. The current world record is a 21:49 by Cads at the time of this recording, with Big Cheese trailing right behind them. While this world record is incredible, it is not what we are here to talk about today. For the longest time, the propeller suit remained as the game's superior power-up, but as of recently, its superiority has started to fade away, creating one of the biggest plot twists I've ever seen in speedrunning history. This is the holy grail of New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Before we talk about the present, we must have a solid understanding of the past. On July 22nd of 2020, Monster posted a tool-assisted speedrun, clocking in at a time of 24:54.8. A tool-assisted run, otherwise known as a task, is when someone, or in most cases, a group of people, come together in the attempt to create a perfect speedrun. By using various tools, they can manually input controller inputs. Those inputs are then used to give players an idea of what a run would look like, assuming the player went for every known time save, while also assuming that the player doesn't make any mistakes along the way. It is also important to note that there is a discrepancy in timing methods when it comes to this task, alongside the world record by Cads. The 21:49 by Cads was not completed in 21 minutes, rather that it was his final time after you subtracted all of his load times. This was done to create fairness across the leaderboard, as the game's loads are not consistent from player to player, meaning that some people have faster loads while others have slower loads. However, this task by Monster does not subtract those load times, so if you were to account for this factor, this 24:54 would fall within the mid-21 range. There are 12 levels you must complete before reaching Bowser's Castle in World 8. 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 5-1, 5-3, 5-Tower, 5-4, 5-Ghost House, 8-1, 8-2, 8-7, and 8-Airship. Out of these 13 levels, the propeller suit is present in every single one. There are a few levels, for instance, 1-1, in which we don't need to use this suit, as we can just hold run until the very end, but in many other instances, this is not the case. In 1-3, it's used to reach the level's secret exit. In 5-1, it's used to weave through these piranha plants without having to use the platform. In 5-Tower, it's used to storm through the entire level, and in 5-4, it's used to skip the entire level. In 8-Airship, the propeller is used for these platform sections, but it is also used to pull off one of the game's most infamous tricks, which is bombless. Upon fighting Bowser Jr., you're supposed to ground pound the floor so that these bombs bounce up into the air and ultimately hit Jr. The intention is that you are not supposed to be able to hit Jr.'s head, which is why the developers put him so close to the ceiling, but if you fly up and then ground pound at just the right time, you can defeat him without using any bombs. It may seem like a simple trick, but it took players years upon years to pull this off, as the execution to pull off said trick is absurd. This leaves us with the final level of the run, which is none other than Bowser's Castle. The propeller suit has various uses here, but its main use comes during Bowser's escape sequence. Even if there were some levels in which the propeller suit was not used, there was never a point in the run in which monsters switched power-ups, which goes to show just how powerful the propeller suit was. It was unmatched as far as covering distance was concerned, and it was imperative when it came to pulling off various tricks. About a year later, QR1PT1K would release a task of its own that was about 9 seconds faster as a result of there being a bunch of small optimizations across various levels. Even though this was quite the improvement over the last task, there was one variable that remains constant, and that was the propeller suit. But on July 4th of 2023, New Super Mario Bros. Wii would change forever. MG Roadkill, Squash, and Cryptic would release a task that was 25 seconds faster than the previous one. To put things into perspective, there are only 13 levels in this entire run. Outside of that, the only other things you can optimize are your entries into these cannons, your world map movement, and this piranha plant in World 5. So even though there are only 13 levels, these taskers were somehow able to save an average of 2 seconds on every single level, despite the game already being out for 14 years at this point. Remember how players used the propeller suit to make it through this escape sequence? Over the years, small optimizations were made to speed up this section, but one of this game's biggest discoveries was made right before this task was published.
What we do here is go back.
This is above the castle. By manipulating Bowser's fireballs, you can clip into the ceiling, and once you clip in, you can then run on top to skip the first half of the escape sequence. After some testing, it was discovered that the trick saved 9 seconds over the previous method, which helps to explain why the task saw so much improvement in comparison to the last one. But if this trick only saves 9 seconds, and the task was able to save 25 seconds, then where did the other 16 seconds come from? Now don't be mistaken, the propeller suit is still useful throughout the run, and we even get to see the ice flower make its debut into the run as well. When Mario slides down a slope, he is able to preserve his slope speed by rapid firing ice balls. Once Mario reaches the ground again, his speed from the slope is no longer preserved. If 2 ice balls are on screen, then Mario will not be able to shoot another one until one of the ice balls disappears, meaning that the taskers have to meticulously time when Mario shoots his shots. In physics, we'd call this energy conservation. Energy conservation states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but can only be transformed from one form to another. The slope transfers energy to Mario, and that same energy remains constant so long as Mario avoids contact with the ground. But if you bounce off an enemy on the same frame that you are sliding on a slope, you will not only preserve that same slope speed, but you will simultaneously gain even more speed from the enemy. Remember how the propeller suit was present within every single level? Now it was only present in 5 Tower. We used the ice flower in 1-2, 1-3, and then we use it all the way through World 5 until we're able to get this mushroom house, which is after 5-2. The penguin suit saves so much time that going out of our way for a mushroom house is worth it. Once 5 Tower is done, the penguin suit stays on for the rest of the run, even on levels in which you'd think that the propeller suit is more useful. Using the propeller suit, players would fly up to these platforms, cleverly dodging any falling enemies so that they can make it to the end without waiting on this platform. But with the penguin suit, you are somehow able to skip the entire level without the propeller. It starts with a precise wall jump up here, which is then followed up by this shell jump. If that wasn't crazy enough, you then have to start freezing enemies in the most diabolical ways possible. Part of the reason as to why the penguin is able to prevail lies within your ability to get these speed boosts, but in 5-4, we use the same technique to platform through the level, with the final section entailing you to freeze these bombs. After 5-4, the penguin suit stays on for the rest of the run. You'd think that this would be impossible considering some of the levels. In 8-1, you have these lava falls that are begging to be flown over. In 8-airship, you not only use the propeller for various sections, you then have to use it to pull off bombless. In 8-castle, speedrunners will use the propeller suit to pull off above the castle. Yet somehow, some way, the penguin suit is more optimal on all 3 of these levels. In 8-castle, a variety of wall jumps and penguin slides are used to make it all the way to the Bowser fight. When it comes time to manipulate the fireballs, you are actually able to do this one wall jump to replace having to fly up. In 8-1, you are able to just barely make it over these obstacles. In this scenario, you have to slow down to make it over. over. In this scenario, you have to freeze an enemy to just barely make it over. And in this final scenario, you have to use this enemy to do a mid-air shell jump. This is a frame-perfect trick that involves throwing the shell backward and then quickly redirecting the shell forwards so that you can propel yourself upwards. But A-Airship might be the most diabolical thing I've ever seen in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. For 14 years, this pipe stumped speedrunners. No matter how fast you went, you'd always be forced to wait, as you can only enter the pipe when it's facing upright. Not even the old TAS was able to bypass this, leading to seconds upon seconds of waiting. But if you freeze these Mecha Koopas, you can then use them to do these wall jumps mid-air. Once you do the second wall jump, you can use the first frozen enemy as a platform to slide on, which will give you just enough speed and momentum to enter the pipe before it rotates, saving about 13 seconds. There is no overstating just how diabolical of a trick this is, let alone how diabolical the rest of this TAS is. Even though it has been almost 2 years since this TAS was published, speedrunners are not even close to using the non-propeller suit route. If there ever comes a day in which speedrunners start doing this type of stuff, then I might just smash my Wii with a baseball bat.